Alright, you ready? Normally I don't want to put a shadow over your face.
Okay.
You look very good. Okay. What is good, y'all? GQ here with the beautiful wifey PG. And we just saw Spider-Man Homecoming. Do you have any first impressions that you'd like to share?
I thought it was great. We had a little technical difficulty at the end. The last 20 minutes I felt extremely sick, so I didn't get to see the last 20 minutes. I was very mad at myself. But when your body says it's done, it's done. But he kind of filled me in on the end, and hopefully
like the good hubby that I am. I filled her in on what was missed. So
but what I saw of it was very interesting, and I think it was the best thus far.
I agree. You have to consider, because we saw all the Spider-Man films going forward. We saw The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. We saw Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. And then we watched this shortly after. Let's touch on some things that we liked and what we didn't like.
I like that it didn't start all over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How he got bit by the spider, showing all that stuff over again.
Yeah, I did enjoy the fact that it didn't explore the whole origin over again. Because we already, by this time, if you don't know what happened that catapulted him into becoming Spider-Man, then you live under a rock. And you need to get out more.
That I kind of liked. And I kind of liked that it didn't go in line with the characters from the comics. Because you had different characters.
Like visually, like it didn't look like how they typically would look
in the comics.
They made it very racially diverse.
And I liked that it kind of showed, it wasn't like New York City where he was just shooting from every building. It was kind of like there's some scenes when he actually had to run.
There was a scene. There was a scene in there. I mean, this is not really a spoiler. This is just something funny that happened in the film, because there's always that question of what does Spider-Man do when he can't swing?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? When he's in the middle of a field. That was like very briefly addressed in the film in a very funny way. I really enjoyed it. When you see it,
and I like
you'll know it was really funny.
It was kind of like, okay, so now we see that there's not always a building that just appears. Like I remember in Spider-Man,
was it like the second one?
2. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
There was a scene where they were in the middle of the ocean and he kind of just shoot. I'm like, what is he shooting?
Only she goes.
Like, what is he shooting?
What did that web attach itself to?
Yeah.
How did he get out of
thin air? The web attached itself to the air.
That's a really good question.
So I kind of like that. It was kind of funny when he started running to get to the, which is realistic because there's not always going to be a building for him to attach to.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that he was able to interact with another Marvel character, because for a long time, Marvel Studios didn't have the rights to Spider-Man, so he couldn't interact with anybody. But here we get to see him interact with Iron Man. There was a couple of Captain America cameos too. Those were funny to watch.
That was funny.
It reminded me of of Ferris Bueller's Day Off or
and I like that
Breakfast Club, that John Hughes
type
of comedy.
Aunt May wasn't the typical grandma. She was kind of hot.
Aunt May was fine, man.
She was hot, so I like that.
She wasn't the typical old lady that you would always see. So that was cool.
And she was actually funny too, even though she wasn't really in the whole thing. She had a few small parts, but she was pretty funny.
I liked Zendaya's character.
Yeah.
Because she just randomly kept on showing up and just saying funny things. Oh yeah, they used her very well. She was hilarious. And the villain was really scary.
Yes, he was.
He was no joke.
He was. He's a great actor.
You really get this sense of, this dude really might just.
And you like him as an actor.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. One thing I will say though, one of my favorite things about the movie is that in this particular movie, it was a perfect balance. Tom Holland was the perfect balance of a good Spider-Man and a good Peter Parker. Like for me, in the original Spider-Man trilogy, Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker. I don't think he was a great Spider-Man. Then in The Amazing Spider-Man, I think he was no pun intended, he was an amazing Spider-Man, but I don't think he was too cool to be a Peter Parker. Peter Parker's that awkward kid.
Yeah.
And Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man was just too cool. He had a skateboard. I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
Peter Parker's not cool. But in this movie, there was a nice balance of him being Peter Parker and him being Spider-Man. He had the jokes and the quips that he usually does when he's in the middle of action. At the same time, he still had the awkwardness, but the smarts of what Peter Parker would be. So,
it was pretty.
That's what I would say. What are some things you didn't like?
I can't really think of.
Can't really think of anything. I had to nitpick just to find some things.
I didn't like the fact that his suit was kind of like dictated by Iron Man.
Yeah, it was a little too Iron Man. I guess there was a lot of technology.
But it was pretty cool.
It was cool. But it was too Iron Man.
Spider-Man's too smart to like be bought out by Iron Man. I don't know. I think that's one thing I thought was a little bit.
If I'm gonna,
but it was pretty cool.
If I'm gonna nitpick, I would say there was two things I wasn't really crazy about. Once again, this is just nitpicking. There was no spider sense.
Yeah,
he didn't use the spider sense.
But I didn't even notice that until you just said it.
I really like the spider sense.
Yeah.
If you paid attention to Civil War, maybe I'm missing something. But in Civil War, I think he used the spider sense. The first time he used it in Civil War was when he had Captain America's shield, and then he was like, "What the heck?" And then all of a sudden, Ant-Man appeared and took the shield back.
All right, Lang.
Hey guys, something.
Oh, what the hell was that?
I believe this is yours, Captain America.
Then the second time was when he was fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he was on top of something, and then you hear him say, "Oh God!" and then turned around and he saw that Winter Soldier threw something at him.
Oh God. Hey buddy, I think you lost this.
So it kind of gives you the sense that he has the spider sense, but they didn't really show it here. And another thing that I didn't like is in this movie he seemed a little too desperate to join the Avengers.
Yeah.
It was like he was groveling at Iron Man's feet. Now can I join the Avengers? Now can I join the Avengers?
Yeah.
Can I be an Avenger now? Like it was kind of annoying. But once again, this is nitpicking. It doesn't take away from how great the movie was. Let's break down our order of what our least favorite Spider-Man movie was to our most favorite Spider-Man movie. And I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, my most
order of worst to best.
Worst to best. Okay, The Amazing Spider-Man.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Electro. Okay.
I feel it was kind of rushed. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the ending, and I didn't really like Electro. I like Jamie Foxx, but something about that character I wasn't feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole storyline, and I felt it was kind of, everything was just kind of like, blah. Then I would say number 3.
Yeah.
Was right before that with Venom.
Okay, because once again it was rushed, I guess.
Yeah, too much.
Too many villains in one movie.
Too much villains. I mean, I don't know. I just think it was too much. I mean, there was some good points, but too much characters, too much villains in one Spider-Man. They could have spread it out a little bit.
Yeah, they could have.
That was 5. So number 4 would be the Lizard, the Amazing Spider-Man
1. Okay.
With the Lizard. Number 3 was Spider-Man.
The original Spider-Man.
The original Spider-Man.
Okay.
That was the one with the Green Goblin. Number 2.
Spider-Man 2.
The doo-doo.
Was the Dr. Octopus.
Dr. Octopus. Okay. I like that one. I like the one with Dr. Octopus. That was a great villain. That was actually one of my favorite villains.
Yeah.
Dr. Octopus.
Because of the arms that he had.
And it was so similar to the comics. And then number 1 was Homecoming, even though I didn't get to finish the ending. What I saw of it, I feel like it's so much more improved through the years. It's so much more creativity. I'd love to see the interaction with the Avengers. I think that's what made it, because you kind of saw it
in Civil War.
And then you were so excited to see what more was to come. You kind of fell in love with his character then. and it made your expectation. It built up your expectation, and I think it did great. Your turn.
All right, my turn. Okay, so here's my list of worst Spider-Man movie to best Spider-Man movie. The worst one to me was Spider-Man 3 with Venom. I feel like there were too many villains. Peter Parker was a little too emo for me, and Venom was rushed. Venom is a character that needs a full movie. You can't just shoehorn him in the last 10 minutes of the movie, because Venom is one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. So he deserves his own movie. You don't bunch him in with anybody else. Sandman, Goblin.
I agree.
Venom needs his own movie with Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was my second worst. I felt like they were trying to make it like a young adult movie, like Twilight. I felt like it was Twilight with superheroes. It was annoying to me.
Yeah.
It was like a young adult movie.
Didn't it seem kind of rushed too?
It did. The Electro storyline didn't make sense.
It did.
Because
absolutely.
It was like, oh, you forgot my name, so now I hate you for the rest of What? You forgot my name, so I'm gonna kill you. Spider-Man, you forgot me.
I didn't like it.
I'm gonna shock you. It was just... And then the villains with the Electro and Goblin, they didn't really share a common interest, so it didn't really make sense for them to team up to go after Spider-Man, but whatever. Spider-Man 1, because it was my first big screen Spider-Man experience, and that can never be forgotten. That was my first time ever seeing Spider-Man on the big screen, and I was excited, and it was just, that's why, that's my third favorite. After that was The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man, I feel like in that movie they perfected Spider-Man's movements a little better. It was a better Spider-Man because this Spider-Man actually talked trash, unlike the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. In the comic, Spider-Man always talks trash as part of his fighting technique, because it distracts his opponents or annoys them to knock them off focus so he can beat them up. And Peter Parker was a lot smarter. Like, they showed how much of a genius he was by creating his own web cartridges and whatnot, and they didn't really show it that much with Tobey because he was too busy being emo. Anyway, my second favorite Spider-Man movie, a lot of you might disagree with me, Spider-Man 2 was my second favorite Spider-Man movie. I'll tell you why. For me, it had a really, really good villain with Dr. Octopus, and it also had the best superhero action sequence in a Spidey film with that train fight sequence. That was an amazing scene when Dr. Octopus fought Spider-Man on the train. However, I didn't like that we were still dealing with Peter Parker being emo over Mary Jane and things not going right. It just really annoyed me. His power stopped working, then it did work, and I'm like, come on. Peter Parker wasn't making jokes like Spider-Man does. Didn't like that. And of course Mary Jane, she just annoyed me because she didn't know what she wanted. One day she loves Peter, another day she loves Harry, then she loves Peter again. It just really got on my nerves. Mary Jane, you need to make up your mind. And for number one, Spider-Man Homecoming, not just because it's the newest incarnation of what Spider-Man is, but for all the reasons that I explained earlier. He was a perfect balance of a good Peter Parker and a good Spider-Man. He was smart, like Peter Parker should be, but he talked trash like Spider-Man does. Overall, it was just very fun to watch. The villain was vicious. I mean, there's really not much I could say bad about the movie. Oh, there's after credit sequence. I'm not talking about the mid-credit scene, but the post-credit sequence. Please watch that. It is so funny. Don't want to give away what it is because that might be a spoiler, but please watch it whenever you get a chance. Hilarious. It's a callback to a joke that was being shown throughout the movie. But it's also kind of tongue-in-cheek because it's kind of like making fun of the audience as well. You'll see what I mean. But yeah, man, that's my list. So it goes from Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man Homecoming. So that is our list, and that is our review for Spider-Man Homecoming. And this is our first episode of Date Night Movie Reviews.
Reviews.
Yes, that is correct, darling. And stay tuned because we will be giving you more of these.
Shaq.
When other movies come out, what? She's distracted by the television. Shaquille O'Neal was doing an Icy Hot commercial. So beyond what we're trying to do. Anyway.
Way beyond. Sorry.
But yes, stay tuned. We will give you more reviews on more worthy movies that we think we should give a review for.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. All the way till the end.
Yeah.
You guys have lots of patience. All right. We will catch y'all later.